positive trading psychology. So what drove you to write this book? Because you've written several trading psychology books. So what sets this one apart, and like what drove you to write this one?
Yeah, so I teach positive psychology in my academic role. In my work as a trading coach, I work exclusively with hedge funds and portfolio management teams. And what I've seen working with professional traders is that the problems that we often hear about in trading psychology, like going on tilt and revenge trading and fear and greed, those don't happen with the traders I work with. That's not what they work on. That's not what's in their heads. What they are working on is building upon their successes. The reason they are at a major multi-strat hedge fund is because they've already been successful, but now they want to build on those successes. They need to figure out what makes them successful and how they can build upon that. And so that fits very well with positive psychology, which is the psychology of our strengths, the psychology of who we are at our best. And so applying the positive psychology to the work I do with traders has been very rewarding. And I decided to write a book to capture some of that.
Awesome. So with going with that, so you mentioned that these professional traders, they don't go on tilt and they don't have FOMO. And I have on my notes here from your book, you were speaking about surgeons not going on tilt and FOMO. So, so what like so can you elaborate on that? So like, professionals, they don't get this because their training is so they're so grounded in their training that they don't
That's
behave that
exactly
way.
right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And I've seen it firsthand teaching at the medical school. The training takes place over many years. And when you first start, a medical student, a third year medical student, is learning from fourth year medical students and junior residents. And then a fourth year medical student is learning from a junior resident and a senior resident. And the junior resident is learning from a senior resident and an attending physician. You always have multiple mentors. You're always learning. And you really don't get your certification. You don't get the opportunity to practice independently until you've trained for a number of years. And every day you're watching people do what they do. You're being supervised by those people in trying your hand at what you do. And that ongoing training helps internalize skills and build upon our talents. What happens with traders is they're eager to make money. And so they read something, they see a video, and boom, they want to go into the market and start taking risk. It'd be like someone excited about surgery and he reads about surgery and he wants the next week or the next month, he wants to go in and start cutting. Well, that's not going to go well. So the big part of psychological issues in trading come from the fact that traders don't go through proper training and end up putting on risk way too early.
It's so interesting, those analogies and how those analogies work so well. So, when I got started trading, I had to, I'm basically an autodidact. I was just like going at it on my own. And then I met a community of traders like on chance when I was successful enough to move to Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico is like a haven of traders. And then finally, like I met a couple of people, just one or two, and I was like, wow, what an epiphany it was. And we're sharing ideas, and like I was able to grow so much faster in a short amount of time than all those 2 or 3 years on my own figuring it out in the dark. And so when you mentioned in your book, and it's what you're touching upon here about the each one, what is it? Each one teach one. I was
That's
like,
right.
man, this is like, this is the way, it's like you can go at it on your own, but if you have, let's like a pod, the pros do it in a pod, 6 people, and you're just growing so fast, like exponentially. it's the way. And once I got like it was like an epiphany. It was like wow. It was like and I was loving it. I was loving the speaking about trading and encountering my encounters with these other traders, and I was just so excited. So like a group of people, and they were the same way. So a group of people, 6 people or so, for example, all excited to get better, and they all are aligned with the same mindset. And when they discover something, they share it with another. It's just like a reciprocity. I think that's how you say it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just it's like that is essential, and that's what the pros are doing. That's what they're doing at these multi-strat hedge funds. So, but when did you realize that this is like did it just happen like you just connected it with the medical field? Like this is what's going on in the like the med school, they're doing the same thing, and in the multi-strat hedge funds, that's what they're doing. Because like retail's completely missing out on this. It's very hard because a lot of traders think they can just go at it on their own. They just put a laptop on or and just trade from anywhere on their own or trade in their small office or home. And they're missing out on this whole thing of just 6 people, each one teach one, learn from each other, and you take it to the next level. So what like any thoughts on that? Like why people have a hard time with this on their own?
Yeah, it's a great question, but I think your example, David, is a perfect one. You were in a situation where you could have just tried to learn it on your own, but you connected with others in a pod of six. And the thing that you said that was so important is that all of you enjoyed learning together. You were stimulating each other. And so, even though there are natural frustrations when we are learning trading and we lose money occasionally, the stimulation of working with a team keeps you going, and advances your learning. But to do that, you have to be willing to reach out and you have to get out of your own head, so to speak, and be humble enough to realize that I don't have the answers and I need to learn with others and from others. Um, and so that's what happens naturally in hedge funds because junior traders join a team and there's teamwork and everyone's learning from each other on the team. There's role modeling, and they could go a few years before they actually start managing risk on their own.